And now NFL IQ with Cynthia Frelund and Logan Ryan. Welcome to NFL IQ. It is almost the league new year. I am saying that because some craziness has happened. We're recording this on a Wednesday morning. So happy new year in advance. It hasn't quite happened yet. But I just want to ask you one particular question. And let's just start with the biggest news of all of free agency. Do we need to start over again because the Maxx Crosby trade didn't go through?
Surreal, right? Surreal. I think one thing I'm gonna speak about is that this has happened before. This happens probably every year in free agency, but never to the caliber of player that Maxx Crosby is. And I think, and there's not having any direct information from this, but from my experience of what I've seen this happen to other players, they trade for Maxx Crosby, the Ravens that is. They give up 2 first-round draft picks for Maxx Crosby. We talk about the perfect Raven, the perfect fit, how they do it. Wow, this is it. Maxx Crosby's going to retire a Raven, clearly. And then they see the trade market, or they see the free agency market of the defensive ends. They see Trey Henderson sitting there, not signing a deal. And in my opinion, the defensive end market hasn't blown it out the water. Meaning you can get Trey Henderson for a good deal right now. No trade becomes official until you pass that physical. Now, when you have an injury like Maxx Crosby has, you technically can't pass the physical. Like, you're not ready to play, but they trust that you'll be ready. Obviously, they traded for you when you were injured. So you still have to pass the physical, but a lot of times they put an exemption saying, hey, we'll reevaluate in 3 months, 6 months, whatever, but we're going to take the player as injured. We understand he just had a surgery. He can't rush the passer right now. But by the time the season starts, we trust our doctors. He'll be ready to go. I've had that happen to me where they say, hey, I have a broken finger at the moment. I can't play, but the Bucs acquired me knowing that. Put something in my contract and said he'll be ready to go. I was ready to go. By the season start, everything's good. But I've seen this happen, not to me, but to other players. They see another guy's available for cheaper. Hold on. What if we just fail him on this physical and back out of it? And that's a blockbuster to have a Maxx Crosby 2 first-round draft pick trade get backed out of. But I think the Ravens backed out of it because they saw a defensive end market to get Trey Henderson, to pay him a cheaper salary for equal production and save their 2 first-round picks.
Well, first and foremost, to me, it's a dirty business. We all know the NFL is not it's not like, when you're a kid and you play and everyone gets a chance, right? Like it's a dirty business, man. But interesting part for me on this whole thing is I kind of think about when I bought a house, right? You write in that you're going to buy the house contingent that it passes the inspection. Same thing. Now, it's the exact same situation where, oh no, I think I overpaid, or oh no, I think that this isn't right for me anymore. I think my goal is to win. We're establishing a new, situation here. I'm gonna make sure that, maybe that leaky faucet is a reason to nullify the deal. So the interesting part here, does it make the Ravens, who have done this before, not with the caliber of player of Maxx Crosby, but they've backed out of trades before. Does that harm their ability to trade with other teams in the future? I mean, probably the Raiders, but other than that, does it harm, is it viewed weirdly?
I think right now, I think the Ravens will ride the media storm out, the PR nightmare at the moment. But I don't think on draft day, if someone's up for sale or they're trying to make a trade, that someone's going to say, no, remember how you did Maxx Crosby a few months ago? We're not ever going to work with you. I think the teams understand they got to work with each other. This is a trick that has been pulled before. We've said this, but it's to lesser known players. It's not the players that are faced on franchise. It's not to known players that are going to have their jerseys sold. It's to a DB on week 2 of free agency that signs a deal, and they're like, hold on, there's this other DB for $2 million cheaper. Let's fail this physical. The guy might be healthy, but they say, oh, no, that doesn't look good. We're not going to pass that, rescind the deal to go get this other guy conveniently 12 hours later, like they didn't have this plan in place. So I've seen this happen in the NFL. That's why I want to make known to the viewer that's not the first time this move has been pulled.
And it's not the last.
And it's by multiple teams, too. It's not just the Ravens. You said the Ravens done this before, but I've seen other teams do this before.
Of course. Yes.
Because they see the value Also, like, I loved your house comparison. I try to make comparisons all the time for the viewer. That's actually how I bought my house. Bought it during COVID here. My wife fell in love with it on Zillow. It was under listing and it went off the market. And I guess 5 days before it closed, the buyer tried to back out for some reason. And then we kind of came in, bought the house, and the buyer tried to swoop back in, like, wait, I actually want, and they're like, no, we don't want to deal with you anymore. But again, like, you have to buy and sell houses every single year in this business,
Mhm.
right? So I don't think it hurts the Ravens for long, but just like buying a house, it failed inspection. They found a reason to fail inspection, and they got a better deal with Trey Henderson. In their opinion, now you got to say, what is Maxx Crosby worth? But Trey Henderson, to keep your first round picks, the Ravens are saying is a better deal than 2 picks and Maxx Crosby.
Well, to me, the numbers say no one is a better defensive end for run stopping as well. So you get the production, rushing the quarterback, and you also get the production stopping the run from Maxx Crosby when he's healthy, of course. But the thing that's the flexibility for Trey Hendrickson's contract is also where it comes because Max's is a trade, so you're giving up equity in the form of those 2 first round picks, and you're committed to whatever deal was negotiated to buy the Raiders, which is probably a different cash basis than you'd like to do, considering you have this, like, Lamar problem where he counts, like, $75 million for the next 2 years against your cap, so you have to redo a lot of things there where you have more flexibility bringing Trey Hendrickson in. You can do voidable years, you can do accounting tricks just like all teams do, so you have more flexibility. That's the business level of it from what I see, but I'm curious of these players that's happened to you before, how do you think Max, like, handles I mean, look, we all I think we can agree that Max is, we talk about him being the face of the franchise because he is so special and elite and all of the things that you want in a player, but how do you handle it from this particular moment? Like, do you as of right now, he's back in the Raiders reportedly going back into the Raiders building, like, you walk back and you're like, "Hey, just kidding." Like, what do you do?
You have to move on the best you can. I mean, it's
Hmm.
100%, you know, don't hate the player, hate the game. Like,
Yep.
he hates the Ravens. You gotta take that personal. I feel like Maxx Crosby would take it personal because it's a dirty old trick that they pulled, in my opinion, and he probably knows that, his agent probably knows that, and it's like, if Trey Henderson wasn't out there, I don't know if they do this like this. If Trey Henderson signed with the Cowboys for $34 million a year off the rip, I don't know if the Ravens back out of this. I think it was for a certain player, for the market being lower, and it's kind of the game. And this is why you see a lot of really, really established, high-known football players have so many issues with the league, and they talk about it in the media. You're like, "You guys get paid millions of dollars. Shut up and just be grateful." But you see some of the business that we air out that it's like, "No, that's not cool, though," and,
No.
"No, that's kinda dirty, and you just accepted me for this job. You traded all these assets for me to come be the leader at this new company, and then, oh, you backed out of it, you know when I just pulled up there and was so excited to go to work for you guys. What did
Yeah.
I do to you guys?" type of thing, right?
Right.
And they're
Right.
like, "No, we got a better asset for cheaper." And now you're getting treated like an asset and not a human. And that's why you see a lot of players air all these issues on Twitter. I've seen JJ Watt. I've seen so many guys complain at the league, like, why are we doing this? Why is this? Why is that? Why are we getting rid of report cards? Right? What's the Raiders ownership going to get on a report card now? We will never know because the owners don't want to air the report cards.
Right.
So I think that's you got to feel for the human and the player. Look, I think Maxx Crosby's still going to be dealt. He could be dealt by the time this episode airs.
That's why we're caveating it
I
here.
still believe that the Cowboys should get Maxx Crosby or somebody, right, can make that splash, but are people gonna give up 2 ones now for him? Did his value go down
No.
now, right? So the Raiders really are the
The
most hurt
Raiders are the
by
ones
this
who pay.
because they spent so much money in free agency already, had a plan to move on from Maxx Crosby. They started to move on to Maxx Crosby. Now they got Maxx Crosby back.
281. 281 million, that's what they signed. So, yeah, they certainly weren't certainly weren't negotiating with Maxx Crosby on the books, if it seems.
So the Raiders, look, Maxx Crosby's hurt personally. The Raiders are definitely hurt. Maxx
The
Crosby
Raiders
still gets still
basically will lose I think a first round pick here. They might get a first and a second from, but I think the Ravens really, if you are a Raiders fan, you are now anti-Ravens because they probably took away some equity for you
yeah.
for a
You
franchise, like,
you're most likely not gonna get that deal again.
You're not
Pretty much it was a sweetheart deal.
you're almost assuredly not getting that
You're
deal.
not gonna get that deal again. You know, they gotta put the no take backsies handshake deal in there like we
Well,
used
they
to have
gotta
it.
like, how happy are you with your house, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're really happy with your house. So, I mean, whoever gets this trade for Max is gonna be very happy with the production Max gives them, but I think that it's really just gonna be the Raiders who pay. That's my what's the net effect of this? I think the Raiders will have they were doing business thinking they had these 2 first-round picks in their bag. Now they're gonna have less than that, almost 100%. They've already signed these deals, so they pretty much need to get him off their book. Very likely need to get him off their books because they haven't accounted for it in the right way, and they're now doing a rebuild. Like, I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's gonna be like, do the Raiders play the Ravens this year? Because 'Cause I'm very curious to see how that nets out. But I think whoever gets Max is gonna be very happy is at the end of the day. Wherever Max goes, he's
Oh,
gonna be a problem.
he's obviously he gave the most motivated, maybe one of the most motivated guys in the NFL,
Extra
another
ammo?
a bigger chip on his shoulder. So I'm sure he's gonna go out there and produce, at even a higher level, you know?
Right.
I
Yeah.
truly believe that.
Same.
I think look, I haven't played with Maxx Crosby. I've heard the stories, and I know he's tremendous, but I'm not trying to slouch on Trey Hendrickson at all. Trey
Oh, I'm not
Hendrickson
slighting
over the
Trey
last
Hendrickson.
years,
We can talk about Trey for sure.
right,
I'm not slouching on
has
Trey at
has
all.
e has equal production, more production, and I know we're gonna talk about this as well from a player perspective. We're gonna talk about how Max is the best run-stopping edge rusher, statistically. I have not seen one linebacker on his team go to the Pro Bowl or All-Pro with Maxx Crosby because Maxx Crosby is gonna go where he wants to go. I promise you that. And the person behind you has to figure out where you're going. You're supposed to be in the C gap. Max jumps to the B gap. Now, where does that leave the linebacker? Right? So you can go get individual stats. And I've talked about this all the time, but it's not going to lead to team success. And the Raiders have not been a good team. And that's not just because of Max, but he was on the team. They've not been a good defense. That's not just because of Max, but he's on the team. He's on the defense. So he is also a part of bad defense. He's also a part of really, really good defense. But when you have a player, and I've talked about these elite edge rushers that go get 22 sacks and go get all these rushes and hurries and passes, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have team success. I don't think you can play how Maxx Crosby plays on the Seahawks defensive line. I don't think they're going to allow you to give you the freedom to play like that, right? So you might not win a Super Bowl playing like that, but you're going to get some individual success. So I want to look at how many all-pro linebackers or safeties come from the Raiders when he was there, because it's really hard to fit off of a guy when you don't know where he's going. And those are kind of the Crosby rules I would assume he has. And I've played with some players that have their own rules out there. Some guys love playing with it. Some guys don't love playing with it. But I think Maxx Crosby, the person, the leader, the fighter out there outweighs
Mhm.
all of that.
Yep.
And I do think he's still worth, obviously, a lot of money. So I don't want to knock that. But
Yeah.
getting Trey Hendrickson is no, like, the Ravens didn't necessarily lose here at all.
I mean, it feels dirty, but
Yeah.
unfortunately for Trey Hendrickson, he's, like, it's not his fault that he's now like, he didn't sit there like, he's not stealing, someone's girlfriend, like, this is business, like, there's nothing to do with either one, like, they don't I'm sure they know each other, but, like, I'm sure Max feels nothing about Trey, and Trey feels nothing like, it's
Yeah,
not about
they didn't go official yet. They were talking, but they didn't put a label on it. You know what I'm
that's
saying?
right. We're just
And
seeing
it's
each
like, "Hey,
other.
we were talking, but you didn't say we couldn't talk to other people yet." And long story short, look, I'm shocked, but I'm not so surprised because I've seen this happen every free agency.
Mhm.
It's just the players you don't necessarily know. It's just the players that aren't gonna sit there and be on, you're gonna buy their jersey. So I've seen guys get done worse.
Oh,
Max
for sure.
Crosby's still gonna end up well
Yeah.
and paid. I've seen guys lose a lot of money because of this.
Yeah. I actually think as far it feels shocking because 'cause we're in it,
Yeah.
but I don't think when we look back over time, it will be one of those things where like, "Hey," and by the way, Ben let me know that the Raiders and Ravens don't play each other till 2027, so perhaps maybe the fuel will still be there for the fire, but I don't know, it would've been more fun if it was this year.
Hey,
Just saying.
Brady, the Patriots Raider or Ravens beef continues to grow. It's been like that for a long time.
Oh, I
So
kinda like that. But
Yeah.
I actually think everyone will be okay. Like, I know this it feels bad right now, but we're all gonna be okay. I think, it's a dirty business. We're nowhere part of the dirty business. It's not I don't know, and I'm interested the thing I was gonna ask you about with the Trey Hendrickson stuff, when you talk about the max rules, I mean, it's not like Trey Hendrickson had he had when with Lou Anarumo, when they went to the Super Bowl, that was a good season of Bengals defense, relatively speaking. But I mean, when he led the league in sacks, like, that was a production moment where he didn't have a lot of guys behind him because Joe Burrow's throwing for
Yeah.
a billion touchdowns, and Trey's just rushing the passer because it's kind of a fortunate situation. So, I guess how are you differentiating between, like, the Trey rules versus, like, the max rules, you know? 'Cause I'm not saying the Ravens got a bad one, but
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like they were both in similar situations over the past 2 seasons, and I'm curious, like, how you weigh that.
Well, I called a couple Bengals games this year. So I sat down with that team exclusively, sat down, talked to Joe Burrow, talked to Trey Henderson. He was just coming out of his contract standoffs, right? He held out. And they were
They
talking about this.
underpaid him so severely, it's anyways,
Yeah, yeah.
that's another story,
I
but
mean,
yeah.
just because the
Mm.
team does bad business, that can hurt your market because
Yes.
the Bengals have done bad business, in my opinion, for
Yep.
quite some time of
Yep.
taking too long to pay their players, misreading the situation. Clearly, they moved on from Trey Henderson, but nobody on that Bengals team wanted to move on from Trey Henderson. No player. Joe Burrow didn't want Trey Henderson to move on. Jamar Chase, who I spoke to, didn't want Trey Henderson to move on. They all wanted him to get that bag because he earned it, right? And Trey Henderson, similar to Maxx Crosby, really had to earn his stripes in this league. He didn't come out highly touted. He was like a rotational rusher on the Saints. He signs that deal with the Bengals, helps them go to the Super Bowl. And the thing about Trey Henderson is, unlike a lot of the top rushers, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, Max, he doesn't move. He rushes predominantly against the left tackle. That's good on good. And he doesn't like to move around. So he's like, no, I want to beat the best. If I can beat their best, that sets the tone.
Yep.
And he's not like a swim move, jump around rusher. He rushes through the tackle a lot of the times, which in my opinion holds his run integrity, holds his run gap, right? Um, where when I see Maxx Crosby play, and I haven't played with Max, I haven't played against Max, but just from watching tape and whatnot, him, Myles Garrett, and Micah, they pick who they want to rush against. They move to the D tackle spot. They move from the left side, the right side. They figure out the protection. They go where it's not. They pick the worst lineman. Like, no, you move out the way, dog. I need to go get this sack on this guard. So I get it. Like, hey, we're gonna put Miles on that guard. But what does that do about that D tackle? He's like, hey, man, like, why can't I play my position this snap? Right? So they get to move around a little bit more. They get that freedom. Trey does it from his spot every single time. And then, sometimes these rushers, they do a lot of swim moves, so they jump out of their gap and try to get a sack. So when we played top rushers, when I was on the Patriots, we ran the ball right at them. And we ran for a lot of yards on a lot of teams because their top rushers were trying to get sacks instead of stopping the run. So I don't see Trey Henderson do it. So you can swim and get a TFL. You can swim and make a big play in the backfield, and that's gonna pop on analytics. Disruptive run defender, he's got more TFLs, he's got this, but he's not always doing his job. You're not talking about how many yards are run through his gap either, right? You guys aren't always tracking that. So it might look good, from an analytics standpoint to go rogue, right, for stats, but you don't see the team effective stats because you jumped out of your gap. Now you're in your linebacker's gap. You two are both in that gap, and that other gap's wide open. Now your safety has to make an open field tackle on Saquon Barkley. I missed that tackle because that's no humans doing that. So now my PFF is down. Linebacker's PFF is down.
Don't call me
And
PFF.
I'm sorry,
I'm
not
not
PFF.
PFF, bro.
Right now, yeah, PFF's trash. Everyone's stats are getting messed up, right? Because the people up front are going rogue, if that makes sense. So I'm not
Yeah.
saying Trey Henderson
No,
doesn't go
I
rogue.
just wanted you to explain that for everyone
Right.
because,
It's a
like, I
team
think that's
game, right?
important.
So if you don't do your job, you might affect me from doing my job, and I
Yep.
might get a negative, but you don't know that, and there's a lot of I've been in buildings and organizations where star players, and I've had coaches or someone say, we can't win with them. He'll make the Pro Bowl, but we're not going to win. Like, we can't win with that because he's playing ISO ball and we're trying to run a team defense here. And I'm not saying Maxx Crosby does that all the time. I'm saying he does that more than Trey Henderson. from their style of play. But you need a disruptive rusher. It's one of the most valuable positions, and these guys are top in the world at it. So apples to oranges,
Right.
but Maxx Crosby, the human being, his ability to promote off the field is unprecedented at that position.
Right. But I guess I just wanted you to explain the difference because I feel like it kind of feels weird for Trey after all this stuff too. So like we're just taking emotion out of it. So this is what you're getting with Trey. That's a decision that's a business
Yeah.
decision. Now as a fan, you can say this is what I can get behind with Trey. Now, Trey gets to now sack his former quarterback Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, of course, who probably was pretty happy to see Maxx Crosby go only to be like he was really like, "Yes!" No, like a really, really rough day, like, feelings-wise for Joe Burrow yesterday, I'm sure, but ultimately, I'm watching now let's talk about the impact here because Boye Mafe comes over to fill the Trey Hendrickson role. Seattle, a team that we knew would get reconfigured, they lose Kenneth Walker, they lose Reek Woolen, they lose Boye Mafe, they keep Josh Jobe, great, but, like, the tell me how you feel about the Seahawks in general now, because I feel like the exodus there has a pretty decent impact.
Oh, the Seahawks fan. You trying to get the Seahawks fans on me again, huh?
I think there's, like, a sparrow that we need to rile up here, just saying.
Seahawks
I don't
fans
know.
have been on me. Like from experience, winning a Super Bowl, it's very hard to repeat in the NFL. One, because you're not playing series in the playoffs. It's not the best team that always wins. It's one game. You got to stay healthy. And then, and you played a long season, so it's hard to stay healthy when you played all those extra games. You played almost 6 weeks more than the next teams, right? At 6 less weeks of rest in a very long offseason that we have nowadays. And most importantly, you're the best team in the league, so people poach your talent. And that's normal, that's common. The Chiefs get their talent poached. All their corners are gone. The Patriots
We
used to
will
get their
talk about
talent
that in a
poached,
minute.
right? So,
Yeah.
every that and to me, the coaching staff gets poached. And the relationship that Kubiak, play caller, had with Sam Darnold and his resurgence of his career, can the next play caller have that same effect with Sam Darnold, or will we see regression, progression, stay the same? Don't know. But you can't blame these guys. They did their job. And I said this on CBS. Sometimes, front offices, everyone gets full of themselves when you win a Super Bowl. And you have to have that humility to come back and do it again. But sometimes players are like, hey, I need to be a number one corner somewhere else. Reek Woolen, not that he'll be a number one corner in Philly, but this is $15 million a year. I need to take that. They paid Josh Jobe. They didn't pay me, so he's gone. He has an opportunity to start somewhere else, right? Well, sometimes front offices feel like, oh, we hit on all these guys. We can find them again. We can find this again in the draft. I can replace that talent. Kenneth Walker, we can find a back in the draft to do what Kenneth Walker did. We can find a corner we can draft one of these Washington corners who are 6'4" and run 4.4. That can replace Reek Woolen, right? Cheaper, younger talent. That's the front office's job. And sometimes when you win, they feel like they can go replace you, right? And that makes negotiation tough, sometimes even come back. I've met very few players that had equal deals and decide to leave. I've met very few players that have deals very close in revenue and decide to leave town, right? But I know for the Patriots' perspective, after I won a Super Bowl, they offered me half the salary that everyone else was offering me. Every other team offered me $30 million. The Patriots offered me 15. And I was like, come on, guys. Like, can we make it a little closer? I want to stay. And they're like, nah, this is your mark. This is what we can do for you to stay here. I obviously go somewhere else. I think anyone in America for double the salary would probably go somewhere else. And the employer's not even trying to match it at all. I went somewhere else. It gets reported that I took more money to go elsewhere. They didn't tell you how much the difference was. They didn't tell you that I was trying to stay. They just told you that I was greedy, right? And that's the dirty business that we get to air out on this podcast. So that's why it's hard for the Seahawks to retain all their talent from their front office bullishness, but also you can't keep everybody because guys are getting great deals. And the two rules in playing NFL football is to win a Super Bowl and to get paid as much money as you can. And that order does not have to be that way. It could be the other way around. Depends on your situation. So
Right. Yeah. I mean, I look at the Seahawks and they can't keep everyone. I mean, they just can't. Like, it's impossible, right? Like, you that's the game. This is how this works. They're getting a little bit of a favorable deal for Sam Darnold, but there's some other people there that are getting paid a lot of money. So then you're looking at what are the opportunity costs to move on from Kenneth Walker when they have Zach Charbonnet, who they're very comfortable with. Clearly, if he hadn't gotten hurt, it would have looked different probably in the Super Bowl, right? They would have at least split some of the backfield. So you're looking at that and you're saying, like, oh, that's just such a hard one to move on from a Super Bowl MVP. Like, that's just
yeah.
a very hard thing. But, that's the decision they made. I'm curious, though, now that decision changes the complexion of, so both the NFC West and the AFC West are really impacted by this Kenneth Walker deal. Why? Well, of course, he leaves the Seahawks, goes to the Chiefs. The Chiefs part ways with Trent McDuffie, goes to the Rams. The Rams, who also re-signed Cam Curl, so they're clearly devoted to their secondary. They get their tight end back as well, and
Jalen
Tyler Higbee.
Watson from the Chiefs.
And the Rams are making the Rams to me are saying, Matthew Stafford, one more at least. Matthew Stafford decided to run it back. I'm pushing all my chips in. But I'm curious, the Chiefs move. They've telegraphed to me. I think they've telegraphed some of their moves in the draft. They're getting a corner and they're getting a right tackle. I don't know what order that's going to be in. They're picking 8th. They haven't picked that high since I can remember, right? So, do you think, did it make him better? The McDuffie leaving thing is so hard for me because I just don't think good corners grow on trees, and he's a very, 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 very good corner worth this top-notch deal. So, tell me what you think.
Yeah, I want to answer this, and I want to ask you something too.
Yeah.
That you mentioned. Okay, so the Chiefs' offense improved. I love Kenneth Walker. I was on this pod talking about they should get Kamara. They need to get a dynamic back because Andy Reid schemes up for his back so well.
We're gonna see a
So
lot of
well.
gap scheme now.
Right.
It's gonna
And
be gap.
when you and I'm looking at Patrick Mahomes, and my rule of thumb is if you have a top quarterback, I understand why you don't need a top running back. But if you don't have a top quarterback, you better have one of the top running backs because we got to worry about somebody.
Yep.
Well, they obviously have both now, but Mahomes is coming off of an injury, ACL, and I'm sure he's going to crush the rehab. I'm sure he's going to come back and be great. But
That's
there's
right.
still going to be a process when he comes back, and he's still
Yep.
not going to be able to run around right away like he runs around like the magician that Patrick Mahomes is. There's going to be some adjustment to his game, at least next season or the beginning of next season. So why not turn and hand the ball around to Kenneth Walker a little bit? That's going to help him in his ACL recovery, return to play. And when you play the Chiefs, you always play the Chiefs in a light box. We've talked about in this podcast, 2 high safeties, only 7 people in the box. Why? They have a lot of speed generally with some of these receivers. They have Travis Kelce, who's now re-signed, a little bit older, still knows how to run around like a magician. He runs his own routes with
Travis
Mahomes.
Kelce has never relied on being a burner either.
No.
He's
He
never so you're not getting a diminishing
right.
asset in that sense because it's not like he's Tyreek Hill who needed that
Right.
top-notch speed.
So
Never
they have
was.
Rashee Rice, who's a catch and run guy, right? So they're getting their weapons back. Those guys should be a little healthier this year, I would think. And then you add in a light box. Now Kenneth Walker seeing light boxes. He didn't see light boxes in Seattle.
And he still was top-notch in explosive
Right.
runs and forced missed
Right.
tackles in not light boxes,
So
neutral or heavy boxes.
yeah, I'll make this point. If I'm playing the Seahawks, even last year, I'm in a San Francisco 49ers game plan. All right, what are we doing for the Seahawks? We're doing a heavy box. We're taking away the run game. We got to get hands on Jackson Smith and Jigba. We're going to make Sam Darnold beat us. That's going to be the game plan. I'm just telling you. And Sam Darnold did that. He beat teams that made him beat us, but
That's right.
that's what the game plan would be. If I'm playing the Chiefs and I was on the Niners in the Super Bowl versus the Chiefs, here's the game plan. We are hitting Travis Kelce. We're staying 2 high safety. We're not letting Mahomes beat us. We're going to make Pacheco beat us. That's the game plan. We got to take away Kelce. We're going to stay 2 high to stop Pat from doing the crazy big plays. If Pat dinks and dunks us, that is what it is. But we got to take away the big play. We can't let Mahomes have those crazy scrambles. We got to keep them in the box, right? And get rid of it quickly. That's our game plan. And tackle. Keep it in front of us and tackle. Now with Kenneth Walker, it's like, okay, we got to stay too high. Don't want Mahomes to beat us, but now we got to deal with Kenneth Walker in a light box. That's a little more complicated to do now, right? You need a Fred Warner for that game plan. So that's why I thought that the Chiefs always needed a premier back, and I really like that. Now, flip side, defensively, they are scorched earth. I mean, they got everyone in their
Leo
secondary.
Chanel's not even there anymore.
Yeah, they got everyone there. They got the Cook, the safety's gone. Both of their
Brian
corners
Cook,
are gone.
yeah, he's a Bengal.
Right. The cornerback position is like your tackles on the offensive line. You don't think you need it until you don't have them. Then it's a problem. And the Chiefs have seen their tackles struggle. So at corner, the quickest way to lose a game is your corners getting beat deep. So when you have McDuffie, when you have Jalen Watson, when you have Christian Gonzalez, when you have Surtain, look at all the teams in the deep push of the playoffs. They have solid cornerback play. They're not giving up quick touchdowns. Make them dink and dunk us, but not throw it deep over our head in one-on-one coverage. The Rams realized they didn't win a Super Bowl last year because of that. So they're trading all their draft picks. They don't care to assure that cornerback position.
I believe the quote is F them picks.
Yeah. So they got a McDuffie, a go-to guy, 5'10", by the way. I don't know what the analytics say about paying 5'10" corners. The highest paid corner of all time is 5'10". But they got a guy, he's legit, in McDuffie. Now, here's a new thing in football, though. You have a cornerback one. You have a Darrelle Revis, per se. You have a Aqib Talib. You have that guy. So what? We'll just throw to the other guy then, right? We're just going to throw to the other bad corner on the other side. Why would we throw it to him? We'll just throw it to the other guy. No problem. Okay, go get McDuffie's running mate who's used to that, Jalen Watson, who had a great year. So you need two corners nowadays. If you just have one that's great, they'll just throw it the other one. So now you have two corners, and obviously they have
Cam Curl.
they have Cam Curl back there too. So they're shoring up those secondaries because there's so many good receivers nowadays. You need multiple DBs that are good as well. And the Rams know that. So now with better cornerback play and their wide receivers and their back and their quarterback, the Rams are absolutely going for it. So if you're a team that's saying, I like to build through the draft and we like to take things over time, you have no shot to win a Super Bowl in these next few years because there are certain teams that are clearly going for it. And what I've seen is 10 coaches get fired a year nowadays. So if your team's not progressing over 2 years or missing the playoffs, you're going to get fired. There's no time. There's no time to beat the Rams. You're not going to try to aim to beat the Rams in 3 years. The Rams don't care in 3 years. The Rams care about next year, right? So I love that aggressiveness because as a player, we always like to bet on ourselves and go for it year by year. That's what you take it as. The Rams are going for it. How about the Niners with Mike Evans? They're going for it. Seattle clearly has went for it. They're up there, right? And,
Cardinals. Oh, sorry.
Right. And then you got some teams, that are like, do the draft and develop route. That's cool in the 90s. I don't know about nowadays.
Well, I mean, when I'm looking at the NFC West in particular, this is a hard job, that Cardinals job. And it got even harder because the quarterback situation right now, we're going with Jacoby. Let me be clear. I am an on the record Jacoby Brissett lover. However, is that going to get you out of the NFC West?
No, it's not. And it's because Matt Stafford's in the NFC West and Sam Darnold and Purdy now has Mike Evans.
Right.
So
And
any
Christian
way you put
McCaffrey,
it, you have the fourth best offense.
you have
Any
the
way you
fourth,
put it.
any way you put it.
The Seahawks have the best defense. The Niners should be healthier. I guarantee they still make moves offensively.
Oh,
The Rams with this newfound defense, with that D-line and those corners. So you put them at 2 or 3. You put the Niners at 2 or 3, and then the Cardinals have the fourth best defense. And then I look at the
Did I
coaches.
give them fifth? Is it possible? Oh, wait, there's
Then now let's
if
look at
there
the
were
coaches,
5
right?
teams in there, I'd probably make them
You
fifth.
got
I don't know.
Mike McDonald, a Coach of the Year candidate. Kyle Shanahan, arguably the best coach in football. Sean McVay, arguably the best coach in football. So you have the fourth best coach, the fourth best offense, the fourth best defense
Which
in that division
and
right now.
you made a decision about Kyler Murray. Okay.
Yeah.
You moved on from Kyler Murray, who as of right now does not have a home yet. Kyler Murray, someone we've talked about on this pod. It's largely believed he will end up in Minnesota. I think that is probably, I mean, I don't know when it'll happen, but that's at least the strong rumors that he'll end up in Minnesota for a league minimum $1.3 million the Cardinals eat the rest of his salary type of thing, right? Because the way they released him, et cetera.
Well,
Uh,
explain that to our viewers so they understand. Well, why
yeah.
is he only getting $1 million?
Yeah, so he doesn't only get $1 million. It's
Oh,
just that the Minnesota Vikings only have to pay him 1.3. The minimum right now that you for a league for a veteran is $1.3 million. That's kind of what happens when that's what Tua is going to be getting from the Falcons, because they're still paying Kirk Cousins. So basically, the guaranteed portion of your salary, what you signed that deal for, the Cardinals are on the hook unless they could have made a trade. No trade was surfacing, so they said, all right, we're going to eat this cost. And it's just like Russell Wilson. It's kind of like the new norm because all these quarterbacks are moving around. So if there's no leverage, you get a deal. And Minnesota, they are pretty deep in the red in terms of their cap situation. So they won't be able to afford the likes of some of these guys who are getting bigger deals. So
yeah.
that's how that works out.
I'm just going to break it down for my parents. Okay.
Yeah.
So Tua's situation, his previous employer is paying the bill. Tua's getting $55 million. That's what Tua's getting next season,
The IRS will see
right?
$55 million for
$55
two.
million, but they
Yep.
have offset in there. So whatever you get on your next deal goes away from the 55. You can't double it. You can't get 55 from Miami plus $1 million from Atlanta. That would be 56. No, he can make a max of 55 next
Yep.
year. So the way
53 from 150. Yeah.
so what you do is you stick it to your old employer and say, "Hey, I'll sign for you guys for the minimum, as little as you can pay me as possible, 1.3." That means that Atlanta Falcons are going to pay Tua 1.3 million, and that means that the Miami Dolphins have to pay Tua $53.7 million. If he got $20 million from the Falcons, then obviously the previous team had to pay him 35 million. But you want to stick it to him as much as possible. So give me spare change and make my previous employer pay the rest. So that's how this works. That's why Tua only costs the Falcons $1 million, and that's why Kyler is only going to cost his next team $1 million, and the Cardinals got to pay the rest of whatever he was due when they released them because it was guaranteed. That is why, to me, Kyler Murray is the number one free agent on the board, period. You're getting that talent of a player, right? A two-time Pro Bowler, Offensive Rookie of the Year, the Heisman Trophy winner. You deal with the character, you figure that out, but you're getting him for $1 million.
Yep.
That's why teams like Minnesota are like, we would take Kyler for $1 million, and we get to work with the talent and see how he can learn and get to know the guy. It's only going to cost us $1 million. If it doesn't work out for Tua or Kyler, they can move on.
Yep.
That team only paid $1 million, right? So Pete Prisco from CBS brought up this situation. I want to hear your take on it. If you're the Indianapolis Colts, would you take Kyler Murray for $1 million this year, or would you pay Daniel Jones the $50 million on the tag or whatever the deal they're going to give Daniel Jones in the future?
Well, let's also add Pittsburgh to that scenario because are you
Pittsburgh.
going to buy an insurance policy against if Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to come back? I
Right.
mean, the answer is yes. And I think that's why we haven't seen Kyler sign yet, because I think there are multiple suitors still out there for him, or maybe he can't be official till 4 o'clock
Yeah.
Eastern on Wednesday. But, maybe something's happened and we're not sure about it, but whatever. Like, long story short, there's a few quarterbacks out here in the ether that are still in that scenario. Now, I would say, yeah, I would sign both. I mean, if it depends on if you can afford $1 million is nothing for your cap.
Well, it's also the player's choice,
It is the
because
player's choice.
Kyler and Tua, I think, had their choices because anybody will take you for $1 million, even to be a backup. Now,
Right.
why would they sign up to be a backup is the question, right? So say the Colts say, we want Daniel Jones and we want Kyler.
Well, I got some breaking news for you right here, just so you
Let's
know.
break it.
Daniel Jones, 2-year, $88 million deal that can be worth up to $100 million.
Bam. DJ did it again. I clap when players get paid.
But here's my question. You don't want Anthony Richardson anymore. Get Kyler too if you can, if he's willing to come.
But Kyler's not going to go. Why would Kyler go?
He's not going to go now because he's not
He's
going to be
gonna
the
go-
starter. But
He's going to go for starting opportunity. And I think Kyler is saying, hey, if I'm going to go to a new spot, I'm going to pick my spot where I feel like I have the best chance to do well. And I thought Tua picked a really good spot in Atlanta.
Yep.
The lefty thing is real.
a lefty
Because-
thing is real.
because the ball spins different from a lefty quarterback to a righty. Your receivers got to get used to that. Obviously, Michael Penix, their quarterback's a lefty. He tore his ACL. It's his third ACL tear since college. So he might not be ready to go right away. And what does he look like right away? You still have Tua all offseason to get those reps. You have Tua to learn the offense, which will be a new offense for both quarterbacks, and Tua gets all the reps. Tua's a lefty. Now with Kevin Stefanski, real ball possession type of offense, Tua feels like I can go beat out Michael Penix in this situation in Atlanta and have better, playmakers around me with Bijan Robinson and Kyle Pitts and Drake London. That's a good situation for Tua. I
Great
love the move
situation.
on both sides. If it doesn't work out, they have Michael Penix. Tua's a backup for $1 million. I thought that was a smart move by Tua, and I think Kyler's picking his option because if he
Yeah.
says Pittsburgh, well, what are you guys doing with Aaron Rodgers? Because Aaron Rodgers ain't coming out of retirement or not retiring or whatever if he don't have a guarantee that he's going to start. So Tua might not want to wait for the Aaron Rodgers situation. That's why we all say that Minnesota
Yep.
is the clear spot for Kyler.
Well, the two things. Number one, I'm very glad that Daniel Jones ended up signing that because I was sort of heartbroken when he played on a broken leg and then tore his Achilles. Like that just made me feel like
Yeah,
a
that
little
was
heart.
yeah.
So I'm glad it all worked out. All's well that ends well. For our pod only, I saw Daniel Jones riding a bike in San Francisco. He looked fine,
There
but
you go.
I just was like, maybe don't do that. Like
No, don't void his guarantees or fail his
I'm not
physical
voiding
form.
it. He's fine. Like he was fine. I just,
I'll
I'm like a nervous mom about these
yeah.
things.
I'll give a quick Daniel Jones story though.
Yeah.
Um, everywhere he goes, it seems like everyone in the locker room loves him, right? The Giants definitely tried as long as they could with him. He goes to the Colts, right? And he goes to Minnesota, then he goes to the Colts. And look at him, look what he's doing, signing extensions and making that money and keep earning, beating people out and keep earning opportunities. He is unprecedented, the hardest man. I might put him out there after Brady of the second hardest worker that I've played with. Like he is legit, gets in that building and works, and that he earns the respect of all of his teammates in the organization. If you saw this guy work, you saw how early he gets there, you saw him lifting in the weight room with the other players. And look, all people care about is how you throw the ball and all that stuff. But the fact that he does what he does and how he does it, if you know DJ personally, not a bad thing to say about the guy. You can only tell about
I
his
did
play on
a,
the field, but
yep.
when you know the guy, he is legit outworking 99% of the NFL. I play with a lot of guys. I credit myself as a hard worker, but Daniel
You're
Jones earns his stripes in this league of how hard he works, and that's why he wins over organizations like he did the Giants for quite some time, and obviously he won over the Colts rather quickly to secure that
I
type
did
of extension.
a charity event with him last year, and you have to be like a waiter. So you like bring people their drinks and they give you these like
Yeah.
fake tickets at the end. And it's a competition for the waiters, right? The like celebrity waiters, please. And the fun part about Daniel Jones was he's like, I'm gonna give all of my tickets to and like, Saquon Barkley's are taking pictures for extra tickets, like all that stuff. He gave all of his tickets to one of the rookie O linemen. I don't even remember who it was, but she was like, "This would be so funny if this guy wins," because like making it fun for the guys who
Yeah.
felt a little bit less comfortable because maybe they weren't quite as like celebrity status as some of the. But
No,
really
he's
good
a dude
dude.
now. He's not a prima donna. He's not like
No,
some the
it was hilarious.
quarterback
He was like,
yeah,
"This
the
will be
quarterbacks
great."
are a different level of
Yeah.
stardom on a
Yep.
team, and he's not like that. He's one of the guys, now that you made all this money, DJ, it's like the 3rd time you got paid or something. I'm not saying you gotta get a stylist, but you gotta stop the Patagonia stuff. No knock on the brand.
He went to
Um,
Duke. He
but
went
he's
to Duke.
still
Give
yeah,
the kid a break.
you gotta up it just a little bit, bro. Just a little. We've made a lot of money in this league, been a starter quarterback for quite some time. Easily bottom tier, worst dressed starting quarterback in the league. And he doesn't put a lot of effort into it. I understand that, but he gotta grow up and start, at least put the tailored suits on or something.
Can we hook him up with your stylist? Because I was watching the fits on CBS, and I was all about them. I commented about it on Instagram
Yeah,
as
sorry,
well.
I gotta
I was into the blue suit. Although I don't think Daniel Jones can wear that color blue because it's, like,
no,
too
he can't
Carolina.
pull off. He don't have the dark melanin for the light blue suit.
Mm.
But I
Well,
got
and
I
also Carolina, he went to Duke. I don't
yeah,
think
it's true.
anyone.
Yeah, yeah. I found a suit guy, man. I'm Batman. I found my Alfred. E-Man at Milano Express. It's my guy. We're gonna have a
We'll
lot
have
of
to
fun this year.
introduce him to Daniel Jones now
Yeah,
that he.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I gotta take him to the Bat Cave, and we gotta meet Alfred, man, because DJ has worn some some stuff that is uninspired, to say the least.
Fired.
He's a franchise quarterback. We gotta at least tailor something.
Okay, well, I love that. But my question for you now is what fit like what in terms of fits, what fits do you like for where some free agents have signed that we haven't already hit on? I think we had to go through like the big landscape of things now. And there's a few
Yeah.
more that we just point out here because I've got a few favorites too.
Yeah. Well, let me start with the Seahawks, get the trolls off me. I love the Rashid Shaheed
Love.
um fit. And people said, "Oh, he only had like, 10 catches for 200 yards."
Tell those people
Well,
to hush.
when
Yeah.
I saw the Alec Pierce deal, which I thought was the most a head scratching to me, highest paid free agent receiver of all time, you know, he had about 40 catches last year. Now, obviously, for 20, 8 yards a catch, Rashid Shaheed averaged 20 yards a catch. He was on the Seahawks for like 5 weeks, right? So almost the production is similar. Rashid Shaheed costs half the price. So you have an electric down the field wide receiver with tons of speed. Rashid Shaheed is as fast as any receiver in the league. I covered him personally. I know how much cushion I gave that guy. He can roll, right? So he has the same dynamic of an Alec Pierce, in my opinion, with if you give him the amount of usage. But when you start a playoff game with a kickoff return and you route the 49ers, when you're one of the leading punt returners and kick returners in NFL, I know we don't talk about special teams, we only talk about offense and defense, but when you have that return ability, I mean, the top returner, returning punts against the Rams was helping win in week 17 or 16. Again, doing it to the Niners to start the game off with a kick return, right? That's dynamic. You got to pay that. That is a whole phase of the game that he adds. And Alec Pierce doesn't add the return ability. So you get the returner plus the deep play ability of Rashid Shaheed for half the price of Alec Pierce. I really like that deal. I really like the Lindenbaum deal in the Raiders. What do you mean? They paid $5 million more per year for a center than ever, highest paid center. They're drafting Fernando Mendoza. They have Ashton Genty. You bring the best center in football, that helps them learn how to even huddle up. That helps them with the play call. That helps them set the protection because in the NFL, the quarterback has set the protection. Not if you have a great center. The center can set the protection. The center, the quarterback, and the running back have to be on the same page of where the slide's going on the pass play, what the run game checks to. The center can help Fernando Mendoza. If he can help Fernando Mendoza get sacked a little bit less and learn the offense quicker, when you pay Fernando Mendoza $300 million in 4 or 5 years, that $10 million extra for Lindenbaum was worth every penny. So I love that move of Lindenbaum there. We talked about Kenneth Walker. I really love that move. And last but not least, my guy Mike Evans. Oh my, oh my. Mike Evans on the 49ers,
Yeah.
that's going to be scary. People say he's washed. If you say Mike Evans is washed, play him one-on-one. Play him one-on-one, I dare you, and watch what he does. He doesn't get a lot of one-on-one matchups. I've been on the Bucks. I played against Mike. I played with Mike. I saw the game plan. He draws double teams. You put him in the red area, one-on-one, okay? He's going to have as many touchdowns as Devontae Adams had last year. The same effect Devontae Adams had for the Rams and Matt Stafford's MVP, which is leading the league in reception, TD receptions, is what Mike Evans is going to have. Oh, by the way, if you double Mike Evans, that's a light box for Christian McCaffrey. Good luck. So you can't do that. When George Kittle gets back and Kyle Shanahan's calling the plays, Brock Purdy's job got a lot easier. They had Ayuk. They paid that money to Ayuk. He didn't play a snap for him. He got Mike Evans for cheaper. So I love Mike. I love the fit there in San Francisco. I just text them, get ready, bro. It's about to be a fun year for him. Get him in fantasy because if you play Mike Evans one-on-one at 32 years
Have
old,
fun.
6'6", he's going to have 15 touchdowns next year. Those are my big ones. Those are ones I love.
I love that. So a couple more that I want to add to the list. I did a lot of work on, I don't know why, but I was like very interested in Kayvon Chaison's market because he played on this 1-year prove-it deal, $3 million for the Patriots last year. They went with Draymond Jones. They moved on from him because he had 7.5 sacks in a system that doesn't funnel production through one player. We know this, right?
Yeah.
7.5 sacks, the most on the Patriots. That's like 11, 12 sacks anywhere else, right? So the fact that, I mean, he played himself into, I think 9 million, so right around 10 million, some almost double digit deal with the Commanders. The Commanders making a splash. I just love the fit between what Chason brings and Dan Quinn. I think that is a low key. That might be my DeMarcus Lawrence signing from last year, the one that could pay off in dividends this year. I just think the fit is great. I think it's a cool story on a little bit of redemption. Who doesn't love a little redemption? And now going to a place that will honor what he does so well. So I'm a big fan of that one. I always like the ones that are a little bit more under the radar. Like the big moves are cool, but I like the guys who are like a little less splashy too.
So all
By
my
the way,
moves were too splashy.
what's that?
All my moves were big splashy moves.
No, I loved your moves. I loved your the one I don't get the one that I'm still I love what the Kenneth Walker situation does for the Chiefs. I'm just very concerned about the Chiefs defense. I just am so like this is a big reset. Like you are hitting massive reset button. The middle, like Leo Chenal not playing there anymore either. Very
Yeah.
interesting. Just
Well,
a lot
I
to
think with the draft picks, obviously the Chiefs can go all defense, and I feel like they believe with Spagnuolo, they drafted McDuffie, they drafted Jalen Watson. They can find the next ones of the batch of corners and train them up, and
Yep.
I feel like they wanted to get Patrick Mahomes some help offensively and then coach the defense, young players, and that's the Chiefs formula. They don't pay corners. I don't know about
Nope,
other
they
positions.
don't.
They do not pay corners. They
Nope.
draft them, develop them, get rid of them, get comp picks for them, get trade picks for them. So that is a major concern, but there is a draft to kind of fill those other needs.
Yep.
But it's risky in the draft, obviously.
That's right.
It's like free
Um,
agency is risky, but it's
and
risky in the
also
draft.
the Chiefs have a pretty hard schedule. They're playing their own division, of course, which is difficult, and then they play the NFC West. So, that's not a and then their 3rd place schedule includes a meeting with the Bengals, which, it's fun for us, but and by the way, they also play the AFC East. So, it's not an easy schedule for the Chiefs this year. This one will be a real, like, can we see a Spags defense, and what we've historically seen is that they get better throughout the season. Well, are you now with a bunch of rookies? How long is that gonna take? So, that's my thing about Kenneth Walker, like, maybe just keep one of those corners. Maybe just or s
Yeah, the Jalen Watson. Yeah, I agree. I thought the McDuffie stuff was a haul. I wanted to ask you this. I forgot to ask you my question.
Yeah.
So when we talked last time, a little off air, you said that you felt that a deal was going to be done with Kenneth Walker and Seahawks. That's why he
Yeah.
didn't get the franchise tag. Um, why did that deal not get done?
I think because when John Schneider did what like, the belief maybe there's a little bit of we've drafted really well, so we're gonna believe in ourselves and double down on our ability to keep drafting well at these positions of need. But I also think they have Zach Charbonnet on the team already, so they're saying, "This is how we'll not pay at a position where now this guy can go command a premium in the marketplace." On some level, it's nice that they didn't tag him or something like this, so he could go get a deal that's more favorable for now the Chiefs, but I mean, I was surprised. I just think it tends to work out better if you home like, your stars that you home grow if you pay them. It just tends to work out better over the long haul. People become more loyal. Those deals where, you know, maybe if the Patriots would have not cut it in half, if they would have offered you like 24 million,
Oh
maybe
yeah,
you wouldn't have left, right? Because you
for
would have
sure.
taken a haircut of a certain amount to stay on that team. That's where I get like that's just at least the people who have taught me football, they tend to say, "Try to keep your homegrown players." It tends to work out better for you.
Oh, that helps. That helps morale go through the
Yeah,
roof. If there's a morale meter in a locker room or a team, because the players do are the ones that play the game. When you reward the hardworking players,
yeah,
the players that produce for you, that have done stuff on the community, and you reward that,
yeah,
that's like, yes, nice. But when you
big
don't, and it's like, whoa, why? What do I have to do to then get paid, right?
right.
And a lot of times, the salary almost matches the role that they want you to play.
Yep.
So if
Yeah,
it's like, "Hey, you're gonna split carries next year, so we can't give you 14 million a year," and the Chiefs are like, "Hey, we want you to be the guy, and we'll give you the price to be the guy," The Seattle's like, we're not going to use you like the guy. So it's also an opportunity to say, hey, you're giving me a promotion in my role, as opposed not just the salary matches that. So a lot of time the money is a respect meter for us.
Yep.
They all
Yep.
view me as a number one running back. You're telling me I'm a split carries back. When am I?
Right.
Well, you're a number one running back in our hearts, but we'll give you $7 million. Well, they're giving me 14 and they're saying I'm the
Right.
guy. So what am
But
I?
I'm sure if they would have come to him with 12 or 11,
Right.
it would have at
But
least been a consider see, that's the thing is I have very distinct beliefs about, extortion and about how to pay contracts because I think extortionists often ask for too much money and that's how they get caught.
yeah,
We'll talk about that
true.
a whole
But
other time. I've thought way too much about this, but it is something I think a lot about. But, like,
right,
if you
like
were to ask for a
that
reasonable amount of money, you'd probably get what you wanted.
you have that Lions jersey behind you. Why? Is that your problem? No, it's not.
Because what?
I'm setting up the Lions jersey. You're a Lions fan, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, but you've been for a long time.
unfortunately, yeah.
So say the Lions trade away Amon-Ra or Jared Goff. You're still gonna have that Lions jersey behind you. Like the fans are still gonna be a fan of that team, whether Kenneth Walker comes or goes. They're
Yep,
still gonna sell those tickets.
yep,
They're still gonna come to the games. So
yep.
that's why, it's like, well, we're still gonna sell out next year and we're still gonna move on
That's right.
with
Dirty
or
business.
without you. So as
Right.
personal as it is for you, Kenneth Walker, Amon-Ra, or whatever,
Yep.
we're still going to be the Detroit Lions. We've been here before you. We've been here after you. And those diehard fans are still going to be diehard fans. They're going to get the next guy's jersey,
Yep.
right? And that is kind of the leverage that the team has. The Patriots fans didn't go follow Logan Ryan when I left. They're still Patriots fans. They're happy when I came back, at the end of the playoffs last year. But they were still Patriots fans. They said, we missed you. And that was it. They didn't jump ship with me. So I'm not going to have the millions of supporters on my side. The
Right.
team has a million supporters and understanding on their side.
Yep.
And
Hmm.
that's how business is getting done. That's why it's a dirty business.
Dirty business. I mean, we start where we end. I guess I just want to ask you one more question. Is there anyone other than Kyler Murray out there that you're excited to see where they land or like a team that's been too quiet? And you're like, I wonder what they're like. I thought until yesterday when Reek Willen signed, I thought the Eagles were sneaky quiet, especially for a team that hired so many new coaches. Like there's the Browns and the Eagles have like 2 players for every coach. It's like a crazy, like their staffs are huge.
Yeah.
So I thought they were being a little quiet. I was interested to see. I'm always interested to see their moves, but the Reek Willen move is a pretty good one. I think the Texans have been re-signing some really key players and Danielle Hunter, basically their entire defensive front. Then they added, a guy from the Eagles. I think that the Texans have had a sneaky good one. I think that the Commanders, between their O-line, their defensive moves have been good. The Panthers,
Panthers been going for it.
Panthers defense. Evero is probably like, is this Christmas? Did I just have an extra holiday? Is it my birthday? Like, I mean, it's incredible between the Devin Lloyd signing alone, I thought was insane because you're in a division where Bijan Robinson's not stopping. The Bucks want to run it against you too. Like Devin Lloyd, as far as the linebacker position is concerned, last year, second team All Pro because he was equally good in run stopping, pass rushing, and coverage. I mean, this guy's super special. So I think the Panthers are, if I didn't work for the NFL, which maybe I don't in a month, but I could look at, I don't know, maybe I work for ESPN in a month. Who knows?
Who
But
knows?
well,
We'll
actually, I
see.
do
Hey,
know.
we'll see your free agency coming up soon.
Yes, Cynthia. Well, we'll see.
We'll know.
Um,
Yeah.
who knows? But ultimately, if I were a person who was looking at things, I would probably think the Panthers win at least 8 games, if not more. I mean, 7.5 seems like a very low number for that defense. Just saying. But yeah, that's something I would be looking at too. But I thought the Panthers did a really nice job, and they're not really getting a lot of credit for it.
No, the Panthers were crushing it on defense, and it shows what they built because you also got to get free agents to want to come, right? And sometimes that takes paying the most money, probably what the Jets and Titans had to do, but also has to be if things are close.
Explain to me the Jets roster.
Okay, so I feel like coaches have like a 2-year window to win,
For
right?
sure.
And they didn't get an interception last year, and Aaron Glenn's a former DB, now being now the head coach, and now the play caller on defense. He's getting guys that know how to play football. Now they might be over the age of 32, but he's bringing in DeMario,
I love
Minka,
DeMario. I will go to
an
the mat for
entire
DeMario
defense
Davis.
of vets, and he's like, look. we're winning more games. Like, I got to get another year out of this. We'll figure out. They got Geno Smith at quarterback. So he's like, I need to bring some guys in. I'm not waiting for no rookie to learn my system. He's getting some guys that know how to play linebacker, that know how to play safety, that can communicate his defense. Those guys have super high character, and he's trying to have Demario Davis, Minkah Fitzpatrick, the defensive line, lead that entire team. And I'm not saying they're going to win 12 games or 10 or 8, but they need to win more than they won, and they need to get more interceptions. So
Right.
he's looking at
More
like, let me get
interceptions.
every
If they get
vet.
1, it's more.
Yeah, this could be the the Brooklyn Nets attempt where they had Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett and all that. But they're trying to
Correct,
get
like the league's oldest team.
yeah, they're trying to be the league's oldest team, but they play football. And hey, they're probably gonna win some more games though. I think the Jets win more games they did last year because those guys at least know how to play. Now, is that a plan for the 5-year future? Absolutely not. But Aaron Glenn's looking at it like how I would look at it. I'm trying to get through next year.
Yep.
How I see coaches get fired, I gotta do something because I'm trying to get through next year. So that looks like the Jets' plan. The Titans are bringing in everyone they ever knew. Hey, New York Jet, New York Giant. If you play for Solid, you play for Daboll. Pull up, state tax, no state tax. We're coming to Nashville. It's a turn city. Pull up, we got you, right? So they're paying every former Giant, every former Jet. I don't know how many games those guys won as players, but they're getting paid in Nashville. And that happens when coaches move. We talked about how much free agency, how many trades and quarterbacks, because when coaches move, they bring their guys with them. And that's clearly what the Titans are doing. I know Titans fans are excited. I'm still tapped in with that fan base, and they're
Yeah.
definitely excited about the moves. I think they made some
Wandale. Wandale is
Wandale
gonna be
Robinson,
the
great
darling of
opportunity.
fantasy football.
Alontae Taylor, great opportunity. John Franklin up there with our man Jeff Simmons going to be nasty in the middle.
Yep.
So they're bringing everyone they know down at Nashville. That's a great place to live. I had a blast in Nashville. I would say when you asked me prior about teams or waiting for a guy who hasn't signed, it was Romeo Doubs for me. With the Patriots getting Romeo Doubs, when I saw
Mhm.
some of the receivers moving, I thought Romeo Doubs was like a top receiver available. I played against him. This guy can run routes. This guy can high point the ball. I know Green Bay was receiver by committee,
Yeah, but that's
and
Green Bay.
they can't keep everybody. All those guys kind of grew up together. They wouldn't pay everybody or whatnot. But Romeo Doubs is the number 1 wide receiver now. And I was really excited when New England got him. I really liked that move for New England. So that was a guy that I was looking
Yep.
like, yo, why is he not signed yet? Like when I saw the Alec Pierce deal and saw some other stuff, I was like, yo, Romeo Doubs is like he's a class above those guys, in my opinion, of a complete wide receiver. So that was one. Then when he moved, I was excited to see that move. And then you mentioned the Eagles. Like I've heard nothing but trade rumors for AJ Brown and a bunch of Jalen Phillips signing elsewhere and a bunch of guys going other places. So them getting, Reek Woolen is going to make that secondary really, really good, which was already pretty good. But that third corner spot is what they were looking for. So you have a 6'4" third corner. That's pretty impressive. The other 2 corners made all pro already. So that's a pretty good 3-man rotation. So what are the Eagles going to continue to do? And is Dallas done defensively? I know they're taking all the Packers players, Rashawn Gary.
Yeah, what about the Packers? The Packers have been so quiet.
Yeah, I don't yeah,
Crickets.
the Packers
I
have
think
been
the best
crickets.
remaining free
But
agent
the
to
Packers
be
have
signed,
always been crickets in free agency. Isn't that what they do? They draft?
I guess.
So,
Their left tackle, Rasheed Walker, is probably, to me, the best player that's not signed yet other than Kyler Murray.
yeah. Yeah, so it's interesting, man, but there's still gonna be some blockbuster trades. Maxx Crosby, where do you ultimately end
AJ
up? AJ
AJ will get
Brown?
traded. I don't think he wants to be there. If it feels like that's over, but I don't know.
Yeah. So I think a lot of things that we're still gonna talk about on this podcast coming forward.
Absolutely. Did we miss anything before we get out of here? I don't think so.
No, we get to Buffalo real quick.
Oh, yeah.
DJ Moore, okay? I thought Buffalo
That
was
feels
going
like it happened 10
right.
years ago, doesn't it?
I I thought Buffalo was going to be in the AJ Brown sweepstakes. I thought they were gonna be in the Mike Evans sweepstakes. I really did. I competed against DJ Moore multiple years on the Panthers, all that. DJ Moore has talent. He's talented. He catches the ball. He's built like a Steve Smith. He's not tall, but he's solid.
Yes.
But some of the memories I've had of DJ Moore, he wasn't always playing the hardest in Carolina. That's like we were trying to get
Yep.
him out of his game a little bit, get in his head a little bit.
Mhm.
Unlike a Steve Smith. In Chicago, I saw moments where, he's jogging on the side, checking out, sitting on the bench during a play. And then last year, their season ends when he's jogging on an over route. Caleb Williams throws an interception. So when you have those lackadaisical moments, but you're the number one wide receiver, I tell you, there's stuff that comes with that. There's responsibility that comes with that. There's personality needed to come
Mhm.
with that. Is that going to be the fix for Josh Allen? Is DJ Moore and Josh Allen going to be the exact fix that Josh Allen needs to beat the Chiefs and the Ravens and all these and the Broncos? Is DJ Moore going to go do that? And he has done that in the regular seasons. He has been productive, but there have been moments where he's checked out. And I was kind of a little concerned about that. Now, Josh Allen is, from what I heard, greatest teammate, greatest competitor in the league. I'm sure DJ Moore is going to play hard for him. I'm sure it's going to be great. But those were a little surprising moments
Yep.
where from DJ Moore, where I'm like, is that going to be the missing piece for Buffalo? They go back and get another wide receiver as well. But that one was not surprising to me, but I'm like, is that what they decided? Now, Joe Brady, the head coach, coached DJ Moore in Carolina.
Yep.
And DJ Moore had good seasons in Carolina.
Yeah.
So that's also a thing where that relationship comes from and a trust for those two, Joe Brady and DJ Moore in Carolina.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like I always forgot that happened because it happens so
Yeah,
much
big
other
move
stuff
from
has
Buffalo, right?
happened, but yeah, I mean, I've got some questions mostly about Buffalo's defense, going forward. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt in terms of I mean, they re-signed their tight end. Obviously, you know, they've got Josh Allen, which matters a ton, and they've got James Cook. And their O-line is incredible. So I'm giving them their offense benefit of doubt. I'm a little more concerned about their defense, and I'm a little more concerned about how they field uh, the new structural change doesn't necessarily happen overnight, right? If you change from 3-4-4-3, like these things take a little bit of time to adjust to and personnel to adjust to, and that's my question for the Bills. Just happens to be defense, which is probably where they're focused in the draft. So
And they
we'll
lost
see.
Taron Johnson, who was like their little super nickel. I really liked him.
Little
Um,
super nickel.
yeah, man. He's short, but he can ball. He's balling for a long time. When they
Yeah,
made plays on defense, a lot of the times I remember was Taron Johnson. So
yeah,
they also lost
100%.
him to the Raiders. So it's going to be a new. And do they get Bosa back? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think Bosa pairs up with his brother. Nick and Joey both go to San Fran. That's my little take on it. So
Ooh, I love that.
yeah,
I would love that, and
San
for,
Fran's
like,
been
no
wanting
other
that
reason than I
forever.
think it's cute.
San Fran's been wanting that for the last 3 years. I heard that's happening. So maybe San Fran's has always went for it, and in that division, you better go for it. So
Oh, for sure.
we shall see. But I think day one free agency is the biggest day in the NFL.
Yep,
We love the
yeah,
draft. We love the combine. We love OTAs. We love hard knocks.
yep.
If your franchise is going to make a change, it is in that free agency. And let's go back into time real quick. Last year, the Seahawks got Sam Darnold in free agency. They released Geno Smith. People questioned that move. We didn't know if it was a lateral move. That worked out for them. Last year, the Patriots spent the most money in free agency. That led them to the Super Bowl. So I see the difference free agency can make.
Mhm.
And that is why we talk about it so much. But this is bigger than who you pick in the first round of the draft. I promise you that, because that can
100%.
make, you're talking about immediate impact pros that have been playing at a high level, coming in to play a high level for you. It doesn't always work out, but if you get it right, you could end up like the Seahawks and like the Patriots.
I love that. Well, that's the perfect place to stop. Thank you for all of your amazing insights as always. My question, what happened with the bee? We need a follow-up from the bee last week before we get
Yeah.
out of here.
So I'm in my barn. This is a room in my barn, which is now turned to a podcasting studio. There was a giant wasp last episode, just pulled up out of nowhere. Didn't know where it's been the whole time, floating around my head. I lucky with the camera, I have eyes in the back of my head right now, so I was able to see it. So the next day, I pulled up in here to do some work. It's kind of my office, and he was still floating around, and I had time that day, so swat him out the air. Might have been barehanded, might have caught him. That's a legend that
Mr. Miyagi.
will be soon to tell. But I sent a picture to the podcast group chat of only one of us is going to walk out of here alive. and it wasn't him. So
Nope.
he is
You didn't send the picture,
long
you did.
gone. I sent the message on YouTube to any of his compadres, but yeah, the B is no longer. So I had to do what I had to do.
Podcasting, also a dirty business if you're a wasp. That is the takeaway I have. Happy League New Year. We will see where all these players go and how it all figures out, sorts itself out very soon. Thank you for hanging out. We will see you very, very soon.